frustration turn into elation as you turn your head to self-isolation decoration.
Hello there, Phil here from Paint the Town Green, giving you some tips and suggestions of things you can be doing around the house while we're stuck in lockdown. So today, I'm outside, al fresco style. You find me in the garden because it's the perfect time of year to be starting to think about exterior work. And there's loads of stuff that you can be doing outside, whether it's the actual exterior of your house or upcycling some exterior furniture, which is what I'm planning on doing here. So I'm on a little, on a lovely old bench that we've had for ages, and if you look closely at it, it's absolutely knackered. The paint is flaking all over the place, and it's in desperate need of some TLC, so this is a perfect time to do it. What I'm going to need for this is some sandpaper. We've talked about sandpaper before. I'm going to use 80 grit on this, slightly more coarse than we've been using inside to date, because we need a bit more bite, a bit more heavy duty. I'm going to use some primer. Other brands are available, but this is something that I found. Suitable for exterior, make sure it's suitable for interiors and exterior if you're going to use it outside. And then I found the paint that I used to paint our front door. That is the top coat, and that is the undercoat that comes with it. And actually the colour is not far off what we've got here at the moment. Other brands are available, but this is perfect for what I want to use. And it's an exterior paint. Make sure all the products that you use are suitable for exterior. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit of my sandpaper, tear it off. Fold it in so I've got a nice workable amount, and I'm going to start sanding. Before I do, I just want to show you, I showed this on another clip about sanding worktops, but it's really important if anyone's talking about doing windows. The process I'm going to carry out on here will be exactly the same as if I was doing a window or a door, but there's one thing that's really important while you're sanding windows, and I want to show it to you. Now I'm not going to actually sand this because I don't want to paint this window, it doesn't need painting, but if I was going to sand it, I would sand all the wood, you rub it down, as we've talked about in previous videos, to get a key so the paint can grip. But when you're sanding the window, it's really, really important you do not sand the glass. If your sandpaper rubs against the glass, it will cause scratch marks, which you will see. If you look closely on windows all over the place when they've been decorated by decorators who probably weren't thinking and concentrating as much as they should have done, you'll see little scratch marks just down the edge here of the glass. And the way we avoid doing this, we hold our sandpaper, but we overlap our finger very slightly. So if I was going to sand this, I'd just overlap my finger slightly, and so my finger would rub up and down the glass, but it would make sure that the sandpaper wasn't. You create a little safety barrier for yourself, and then you can just crack on and sand that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sand this bench, then I'm going to prime any bits where there's bare wood exposed, so that's primed and ready to go. I'm going to put an undercoat and a top coat. If you don't have any undercoats, absolutely fine. You can go straight in with 2 top coats. So let's get cracking. So one more thing I wanted to say about exterior decorating. It's a great way to sort of cut your teeth and just get used to some techniques. If you're a bit nervous about doing stuff inside, you're worried you're going to mess it up, particularly if it's woodwork, you're going to have brush marks showing and it won't look right. Outside is a great way to just have a go, work out what works and what doesn't, because it's much more forgiving. Everything's just a little bit more rough around the edges. With that in mind, I've employed as a junior apprentice to help me with the prep work. Okay, so we're all sanded, our prep work is done, and as you can see there's a whole load of bare timber that's been exposed now where the flaking paint's come off. What we need to now do is prime all of that. We prime it to stabilise it, and so it's the surface is then ready to receive our paint. I'm going to do a separate video on different types of paints that you use when doing woodwork, because there's a lot to say about that. One other thing that's come to light while we were preparing this, if I turn it over, you can see we found a little patch of rotten timber in the back here. Can you show that? So we scraped it out with a screwdriver. You can use any other sort of hard metal thing to expose, get rid of all the rotten stuff. And now I'm going to fill that with a 2-part wood filler. I said on an earlier video I couldn't find any, but I've actually found a tin of filler in the shed, and I found a tube of hardener in my bag. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Ideally, you first of all go in and put a wood hardener in there, just to shore that up, and that's a type of primer. It's a form of priming before you use a 2-part wood filler. Don't have any of that, but I'm going to show you how to use a 2-part wood filler, which is exactly what you do on a window or a door or whatever. We're going to put that in there as well, and then we're going to spot prime all these bits where there's bare wood. Okay, so 2-part wood filler. I've taken a scoop from the tin here. Other brands are available. This is what I happen to have. It's an old tin I found in the shed. And I've got a tube of hardener. I've put it onto my filling blade here. I could leave it there for hours, okay, and it'd be fine. As soon as I put this stuff in, the clock is ticking, okay, because you only get about a minute, 2 minutes, depending on how much hardening you put in before it starts to go off, and then you can't really use it. So we use about a pea's worth of hardener. We squirt into the filler like that, and we mix them in together. Now, if I was doing small little bits on a door or a window, I wouldn't mix as much filler as this. This is quite a lot to be doing in one go, but because I know it's got quite a big, deep hole on the back of this bit of wood on the bench, I'm mixing quite a lot. I may need to do another bit to finish it off, but I know that I'm going to need a decent bit just to take the depth out of that hole. Now, if anything bigger than that, you might want to start thinking about a 2-part resin. Again, I don't have that here. It's something you might need to Google, but it's like a 2-part wood filler. It's just on a larger scale. The product's much more expensive, and it's like a resin, a malleable resin you get to work with for repairing larger areas of timber. It's the last port of call before you arrive at need a new bit of wood. So that's pretty much mixed in now. I've mixed in my sort of pea's worth of hardener, and I've got about 2 minutes or so now to play with this before it starts to go off and become unworkable. So I go over and I just work it in little pieces into my hole in the wood. So there's bits of grass getting caught in it. It's not a big drama, it's fine, it's outdoorsy stuff, it's not a big problem. And I can mow the grass and get rid of it where I'm going over. If I was inside, I'd obviously be protecting the floor, be a little bit more careful. Now with 2-part filler, I talked about leaving it very proud, or slightly proud when you're using a powder filler on previous videos. 2-part filler's slightly different game. You don't have so much shrinkage, and it's also much more elbow grease is required for sanding 2-part filler. So you want to make sure that you're not leaving more in there than you actually need. So this I am going to flatten off with my blade. I can always do a second fill afterwards. But a powder filler that we used on the walls, you leave it slightly proud because it will shrink in a little bit, and then you sand it. With wood filler, you want to be scraping off the excess. You don't want to be smothering it and leaving great mountains of it, because you will be sanding for quite a long time. It is designed to be sanded, but it's just a much more robust beast. Okay, you can see this is just starting to drag now, because it's starting to what we call go off. So I'm going to clean my blade, clean that off so I don't get loads of it. It's just one neat little bit on the edge there that can go hard. Okay, now just leave it, because if I carry on trying to work that, it's going to drag just like a paint which starts to harden. So we're going to leave that to go off for a few minutes, and then we can sand it. Okay, that's our 2-part filler. We only filled it about 20 minutes ago. So that's given it enough time to go hard. We sanded it down, and now what was a hole is now a nice smooth surface ready for painting. So we're going to finish off our priming, and then we're going to be ready to start putting the colour on. So we're all primed. We've actually ended up putting primer on the whole thing because there were so many little bits of timber that it was quicker just to put primer over pretty much the whole thing. So now we're all ready. If it was a window, or particularly a front door that you're going to want to be just right, we possibly do another quick fill with the 2-part filler where we can see any undulation, sand that down, re-prime it. But it's a bench in the garden, it doesn't matter so much, so we're going to crack on with the colour. Here we go. Okay, so that's done. We've got our first coat of the colour on. If you want to just show it here. So that's actually the undercoat, but it's exactly the same colour as the top coat. So we're going to go in and do the top coat when that's dried. What we're going to need to do at a later stage is come with a different colour paint and fill in all the little metal framework bits. But the basic principle of how you do it is there. You'll notice I'm not in my painting clothes. And I mentioned at the beginning of this film that, it's not a film, it's a video, that it's very easy to do exterior work. I actually haven't done any of the painting on this, or the prep work. You saw my son doing the sanding at the beginning, and actually my daughter, who's our camera operator, has done all the painting. So well done her. It is that easy, and it looks great. It's good fun, and it doesn't take that long. Hope you can hear me okay, because the wind's picked up a bit, but happy painting.